I'm back. I've always wanted to do that. I know it's Mariah Carey season right now, but yes, German chocolate, Life of a Mixed Girl, back in action. It's been over a year, and the craziest part is I didn't really have on my list of goals to record more episodes this year because I was jam packed with other things that were part of my goals, and there was already zero time, and I have to frequently adjust my schedule because I do get worn out and tired, and especially when not a lot of things seem to be happening in terms of success, however you might measure that, right? Then it can feel down sometimes. But oddly enough, and it feels so weird to say, a few times this year, people have come up to me like, hey, it's been a while since you've done a podcast. I actually really enjoy listening to, what you say and your journey and everything. I still haven't quite figured out if these solo episodes are better or when I have other people on or when it's more interview style. So the last one that was out was the series The Experts I Know, which is so cool because I had all my friends and acquaintances that are experts in fields other than what I've actually gotten to know them for. And it was really fun just shining light on them. So let's unpack before we get back in. If you follow me on Instagram, you might know all of the things I've been up to since that last episode aired in, I think, July of 2024. I'm not even 100% sure. Time definitely flies when you stay busy. But even if sometimes I might not feel like I'm going a lot of places, but I was recently reminded look at all the things you're doing, though. Some things take time, still working on patience. It's always going to be there. But if you do listen to this podcast a lot, you know that I talk about keeping a spreadsheet with goals and all of the things I've achieved, no matter how small they are, in all kinds of areas of my life and career. So when I look back, I'm like, wow, I have just noticed, like, oh my God, every October, every year, there's like a whole bunch of stuff going on. September, October, leading into November. And then, of course, it slows down right before the holiday season and into January. And then there's like a. So you can prepare a little bit when you actually have physical evidence of that. It's every year seems to be seasonal for some things, maybe also energy wise. But so if we go by the timeline, last year, summer, I legit cannot remember exactly what I did in the summer, but I do remember that I happened to have my first two live acting auditions, like not self tape, and they were on a Monday and then on a Tuesday. So I had to learn scripts for both of them. And I was like, what are the odds? So one was from a project I worked on, man, January of last year, I think. And the assistant director was working for on another film and was like, hey, I think you might be perfect for this. Would you like to audition? It's going to be a live virtual audition. And at the same time, I got an audition for a principal role, my first ever like bigger one too, for a Netflix film, which it's now out, so I can say it was House of Dynamite, and that's on Netflix. And it was so crazy. I was so focused on this big one too that I knew, oh, including technical difficulties. That's always like my worst nightmare, right? When you're in there and you're responsible for the Wi-Fi, and is there any lag on Zoom? Which, I mean, you don't know on which side, and so I don't know how I did for the the other one where the assistant director had called me in, but the Netflix one, it was so interesting. Mm. I think a week or two went by, and I remember this vividly. I love to make this like healthy chocolate pudding. So I use almond milk because I'm lactose intolerant, but it's low cal because of that. And you know how you don't have to add any sugar if you add protein powder because it's already sweet and also low calorie. Plus, then you're getting protein. So I love making this like protein chocolate pudding. It's just so warming and the texture, and I love pudding, especially warm pudding. But that day, I especially was craving multiple things, and I made like a chocolate mug cake. It's like the spongy cake. It's like a cupcake for real because you put all the ingredients in the cup, put it in the microwave. So I cut half of that, put it in my bowl, put the chocolate pudding on, gave my son Alex the other half. Made him a bowl. And I was just about to sit down to watch whatever, and my phone rings and it says casting. And I was like, ah, like when do they ever call? So I was at first I was oh my god, what is happening right now? And it was so cool because even though she had let me know, which is also good because you usually don't hear back, that I didn't end up getting the principal role, but they really liked my audition, my read, if I was interested, especially because I'm not local hire, to come in for the special, well, not come in, to work as a special ability uh, background actor. And that just means they were looking for real veterans for this principal role and for the background roles. And I was like, hell yeah, I love this director. I mean, Catherine Bigelow, she was the inspiration for something else that I'm going to go over later. And just knowing this is like an Idris Elba film and to be in New York and to be on set, I was like, sign me up, 350 a day. I was like, it'll be fine. One of my friends, Johanna, she lives in New York. And I was like, it'll give me another reason to visit. That's always really nice. And that was fine. And she was like, well, I don't know if I can talk about the process, what she said, how it works with this particular director. But that being said, they kept on checking in with me. Hey, we know you're not local hire. We just want to let you know it still hasn't been decided. You're still in the ring. We're rooting for you. And it felt so good. But this was like from the initial audition to this one, I think a total of probably 5 weeks of getting emails, text messages, phone calls about this role. And on a Friday afternoon at work, I finally received a phone call. You booked it. Fittings on Monday in Jersey. I was like, ooh, that one's gonna hurt. All right, now at this point, I'm just booking it for the experience, I thought. So, booking a flight to New York for that Sunday so I can go to a fitting. And it was so nice. Like I said, I got to hang out with my friend Johanna, then take the train to Jersey, and this was literally 5 minute fitting. And it was so cool because I got to wear the newer army uniform because when I got out, we were wearing the ACUs, the digitals, and it felt so cool, so badass. And it said like patches and stuff on it, but the day when I came on set, they had taken all that off. I got demoted, which made sense for those roles. And I feel like I might have said this, but this might have just been on Instagram. The coolest part about showing up on set was that we were maybe 5 or 6 people, I think, for these special ability roles. And all of us had actually auditioned for this specific role in the film. And we had various experience levels from, the time we've been doing this. And I wasn't union yet either. So this was going to be my first union voucher. That's another reason why I was like, I definitely want to be in because I was voucher hunting, especially for, stunts and getting bigger opportunities. And it can take time, especially because it's really only New York and LA that will really give out vouchers. And then it just depends. So that was really cool. But also, it was black, white, Hispanic, red hair, tall, short, male, female, really across the board. We couldn't have been any more different. And that was so cool to see from a casting standpoint. And now that I actually watched the film, I was like, yeah, it could have been any of us. And I mean, there's a few roles. I still wonder the way they wrote the different ones and the one that I ended up picking from the variety of the ones I could have chosen. Which one was the actual one? Because I don't know. I'm going to go on a rant. So that's it. But the cool thing was, I go on set, Stunts happens to be there. And I was like, oh my God, a stunt coordinator. So I'm like asking for advice. And that's when I learned to say the word rookie. Wasn't what I thought I was trying to say. I guess it sounded like I have never done anything, no training, no nothing. But he was like, these are all the things you should do and get a reel and do all the stuff and come SAG and things. And it was just so cool. But it had also inspired me to take another special uh, stunt skill up because they were driving that day and it was literally just cars moving, literally just moving, but I guess safely on set. And I was like, oh my God, if that's a thing, then all right. I've been thinking about that. We got Bobby Orr's precision driving course here in Florida, and I signed up for that. So that was the motivation for that. And that ended up getting me a job with Kevin, my mentor, trainer, person that Taft Hartley'd me and got me my first stunt job on the set. That was just super cool. Oh my God. This year, I think it was end of January, beginning of February, where I then got to drive. So he's like, you just took this course. It's like, oh my God, I took a course. Like, what did they want me to do? Like, I'm clearly not even really a beginner at this point. I've taken a course. Um, but he really trusted me, and it's really nerve wracking when somebody trusts you with something like that. But it was so fun, and I got to be on set with some very experienced some performers. What do you call it? Exotic cars. I can't think of the name. Uh, but when they're like exotic and they're fast, so you need people to be able to drive those because it's not easy. Because apparently they drive differently and they can just turn off, overheat. I don't know. No, I'm probably just making stuff up. But like these powerful cars and other people that do this for a living for commercials and stuff. So I got to work with them and hear their stories, and it was really cool. And other than that, so then we end up working so long, not getting able to get lunch till later because they're really trying to get the shot and all of these things. And I took transportation from New York to Jersey and then, of course, back. And that counts in your set time, which I have then learned I will always take advantage of transportation and not drive myself on set if available, because that ended up getting me golden time. And what golden time means, we already went over the allotted time for that $350, right? And then there's overtime, time and a half, double time. And then if you reach a certain time that's already, I think in like the 15th, 16th hour or something, you get golden time, which is the day's worth of rate per hour. So I ended up making, I think after like my SAG dues and all of the stuff that comes out. It's so nice because then it's like a real paycheck. They already take out all the stuff. And I didn't have an agent for this one. I think I ended up making $1,500. So it wasn't just like a cool, I'm going to get on set, get a voucher, get the experience, and lose money because of the flight. I actually ended up making money. So that was really, 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 really cool. So that was that one thing that happened last year in September. And then, like I said, that precision driving course that happened last year in October. And I knew I wanted to do something so badly this whole time, and which is fire burn. And Bree from my stunt class, she was like, "Oh, I'm thinking about going to this class," which also beginning of this year at some point, maybe February, March, I'm not sure, and which is FJA Fire Stunts in New York City. She ended up not being able to go, but I went, and because we also weren't that many people that day, freed up another day. And from another class in Miami, I had heard from a now friend, Hugh Fitzgerald, that I should check out Breakfall Studios in New York, and they just happened to have a workshop. And the workshop from one of the things that was on my to-do list for my goals, and then I set small goals, right? And one of them was to do more tactical training to make sure that this military experience stays fresh, but also translates for film and TV. So that was a lot of that. I wanted to do fire burn, and I wanted to do more tactical, especially for film and more fighting, and they happened to have a tactical class there. So I got to do all of that. I had also learned when I took a couple of fighting for film classes in Miami action design that I, yes, have been training Kung Fu for this reason, to do stunts, but mainly because one day I want to do mocap, PCAP for video games, the whole thing that got me into stunts, if you know. I don't know if you knew that. How I even got into stunts. I was like, weren't you voice acting? Wasn't that what you were doing? Yes, yes, I still am. And interestingly, because I now train so much, so hard for all of this, because this is such a physical skill and you just need to be able to do so much and be fit. I really hadn't had that much time. So I did also have to make sure I keep up with voiceover. So last year, a lot of that kind of fell flat because it was so, okay, let me get on the acting and try to submit myself for stuff and stunts and everything. But I ended up taking up jujitsu. So my days really, really got full between my full time job and, of course, being in a relationship, being a mom. Uh, is started training, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday between Kung Fu, Jiu Jitsu, and stunts. And then usually on Sundays, if you do follow me, you might know I go to the gym on Sundays, whatever, usually lower body, which I now know for sure I have to practice my upper body. My lower body is super strong, especially I know this in Jiu Jitsu, especially being a girl when you roll with guys. It's super helpful. Have that lower body strength. But my goal was also to do pull ups, and I just had not been able, like once a week, to hang off of something that's just not good enough. So I'm still working on trying to get all that done so I have more strength there. Also working on my form for wire stuff. So there are tons of things to always improve. I do feel like I'm making progress and it's great, but I also feel like I'm failing every day, and it can be so frustrating because as you get older, your body also doesn't want to comply as much. Even though I was more of a scaredy cat and not as daredevilish to try these things in my 20s, but now being in my late 30s, oh, like right now, I have a bruised toe, and not the big one, you know, the middle finger toe on one of my feet from warm up at jujitsu. I am so mad that this happens all the time. But yeah, I'm exhausted and I'm tired, and I just feel like, am I ever doing anything right? But when I look back, I didn't know anything before, so I'm already one step closer, and I totally understand why in jiu-jitsu it can take up to 2 years to get to a blue belt, which is still only kind of a beginner. I could get into that a lot, all of these things, but I'm doing a lot, and it's my energy. It's been really difficult, but I just had a talk, which I'm going to go over further what's next, with someone, and it made me realize, yeah, some days are going to be long and it's going to be hard, but you got to keep on going, because sometimes on set you might sit around for 10, 11, 12 hours, and then you might have to do a stunt, and you got to be ready. You can't be tired, can't be, it has to be safe. So that really put a new perspective on, man, I'm tired, but I know I got to get through this. Even though I'm enjoying all the things I'm doing, my main stage is just mainly tired. But then, all right, going into spring, starting jujitsu, but more regularly, I started when summer break hit, because then I was able to start 6 a.m. classes. It's just more my vibe, and it's been a really nice thing to get the day started doing that. And I did my first kung fu tournament this summer. I'm older, and I'm older and a beginner, still under 2 years, which I just now this month I'm hitting my 2 year mark for consistently going to kung fu. And now my son Alex and I are usually leading warm ups and things, and it feels so surreal, because if you would have seen me at the beginning, yeah, you would have laughed. I am not like my, what do you call I don't move very well. I don't like dance. Maybe for that I need like a shot or so, or just feel really comfortable. Not like a shot, but like a drink, because my coordination and my left right sometimes. And yeah, now at least I'm doing it. It still doesn't look how I want it to look a lot of times, but that's why we go right. So that's why the failing and making one step forward is just something to keep in mind. But I did that. After that, in the summer, I went to LA, because through Miami Action Design, we trained with Hugh Fitzgerald from 87 North, who's a grappling instructor, and was like, hey, if you guys ever want to come out to LA to train at 87 North, go ahead. And I was like, oh my God. And it was so surreal. I didn't even post anything, so you might not even know I went. But I was like, I feel like I don't want to be that person to like post it. And also, I don't even know if I can. You get to sign like papers and stuff to train there. So, whatever. And I took a private technical class out there, which was really nice, which then inspired me to finally go ahead and get a firearm again. I haven't had one since I had left America a while ago to move back to Germany. And then when I came back, that wasn't even like a thing. So now I can go shooting again and clean my weapon and practice all the tacticals because I've wasted money on a lot of stuff. Okay, let me get this plastic weapon. Oh, okay, this one, it doesn't lock back, so I can't really practice the same thing. So, blah, 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 all of that. As you can see, it is not very cheap. It wasn't cheap to do voice acting, definitely not cheap to train acting and headshots and materials, and definitely not for stunts, especially now that, I'm paying regularly for jiu-jitsu, paying regularly for kung fu, and then my drop-in classes for stunts and all the workshops, especially if I fly to workshops to LA or New York, and even sometimes Miami. When I did the multi-day one, I still gotta stay in a hotel. But the good thing is when you use your credit cards, especially if it's a Chase Sapphire, you get so many points that later your hotel or your flight, but usually I use it for hotels. My nights a lot of times are free when I travel. And just now I booked my trip to LA this December because it'll be the third annual Nava Foundation Gala. It's my favorite event of the year because I get to dress up. It's so Hollywood. It's red carpet and black tie. So I feel like that's the vibe. And I'm so excited because I already have the dress, I have the purse, I have the earrings. Yesterday, I made my appointment for my hair, and for the first time, um, a full face of makeup. Usually I just do my like 5 minutes. I'm just too impatient myself and put some eyelashes. And it's okay, but still some of the blemishes and just being camera ready. I'm gonna do Sephora, which is so cool because the hotel I stayed at last, which is closer to the airport in El Segundo, there happens to be both my favorite place, the dry bar, where I'm gonna get my hair done, and a Sephora, where I just made the appointment for hair and makeup. So I'm gonna get hair and makeup on that Friday. And I gotta get my nails and eyebrows and any kinds of other facial hair done before I leave. I'm planning to hang out with some people, and sometimes it can be stressful when you're going out for 3 days, and this one day is really just getting ready for the gala, plus LA traffic. So I'm already glad that these things are in the area where my hotel is. Go back, change, and then pretty much already gonna have to drive on a Friday. Uh, try to get there on time. And where have we arrived? So from there, did that, went to LA, hopped on someone's podcast as well. And then new school year started. My son went to a new school. So he went to a military academy, but I had to always drop him off at a specific bus stop. So it didn't stop by our house. So it became a burden when I was flying places or booked something or go for a workshop or whatever happened to ask people like, hey, can you take my son to the bus stop? And then my boyfriend has to make sure like he picks him up. So that was really like a burden. I was like, all right, I need to make this easier as a mom. How can I do it? All right, let's send him back just to regular school. And it ended up being good because this school is great with the programs it has. He's taking high school level classes there now too, and ended up working out fine. He goes to the bus, comes home. He can do all that by himself. He's a teen now, and he is now as tall as me, maybe even a little taller, which is insane because just this January he went to like my shoulder, which already felt insane. I was just looking at pictures from 2 years ago when we started Kung Fu, and he had looked at the cheeks. And his voice was still kind of like a baby, and he was shorter. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm a mom of a teen, and I'm now officially the shortest person in this house. Now I know how my mom felt. Because she's 5'2". I'm 5'6.5". It's so weird because in American measurements, there's always so much room between like an inch and 1/8 and 1/4. It's so weird where I'm just like, I'm 169 meters. 1,69 Meter, maybe 1,70. And it's so easy because it's like there's like millimeters and centimeters. So it's very exact, not just approximately. There are many things I just a lot of times can't get over. Oh, it's easier with the metric system. I also just recently shot a commercial for a brand I've been auditioning for about 2 years. Very exciting. Yeah, it wasn't like a principal or a lead role, but just to get in. I'm telling you, doesn't matter for this Netflix film that was a background role, even though a special ability one. There was just a few of us, but even maybe even crowds. That is not as easy. Like, oh, these are just background people. Don't even recognize them. Don't even see them in the scene. It's not easy to get picked for these kinds of things. And the same for this commercial. You go through all this stuff and you finally make it. And I'm very excited. I think it comes out probably sometime next month just because of the theme. But you still don't know. Just like with the Netflix, when I watched it, our scene was cut all this time, all this money, golden time, and it was cut. It was actually replaced, kind of, sort of. It was. I still was trying to figure it out. What exactly? I could tell like the vibe difference, but I was like, when did they do this? So yeah, I mean, I was there. If I'm making it into the final product, I now officially feel like a real actor. Just being like, I was there, I got paid, and that's all I can do. Cool thing, Nava had just announced that they were working with IMDb Pro to get more voice acting credits on there, which is dubbing. And I kept thinking about my friend Vanessa from LA, who's like started dubbing a lot of live action things for Netflix. And I was like, it really sucks because for anime and things like that, you do get the voice credit, but for live action, you didn't. And that's such an accomplishment, and you're doing that and you're putting, life into this real life person. But now you can, and it made me excited because I was able to go back and add two of my past dubbing ones, which also this summer I heard back from that studio. It's been almost 2 years, probably 2.5 since then, that they were working on a new contract for a new project if I'm still available. And I was like, yeah, let me know. I love dubbing because it's the OCD of things, like the flap, the right emotion, and you can see it. And when I see it, because I'm so visual, I can feel it even better. Yeah, I can imagine stuff, but it's so nice when it's like on screen to match that emotion. I love dubbing. I really want to do more of that. So, yeah, speaking of that, like I said, there wasn't a lot of time to do things. So, I am making more time for voice acting, talking to people in the industry. Like, I feel stuck. What can I do? What could be my next steps? I just feel like I'm already doing literally everything. Especially, I live in a small market, so I know that's part of it. But I just will not accept that. I always end up getting the thing that I want, and there's gonna be another episode eventually. I think I'm gonna call it my butterfly effects or something, and the power of freaking manifesting since you're little and don't even realize some of it. It's insane. So I never have doubt in my mind that I'm not going to reach what I want. But sometimes that whole thing, well, you don't get the one thing because you're meant for something else. And it made me realize maybe not necessarily bigger, better, but just to do the thing that's kind of in that realm, you have to take some detours. Like I was like, I want to be a voice actor, mainly also because I love to sing. And I always have. And it made me that just made me think of the song I posted, the next best thing from Frozen, because she says that in the song. All right, my brain shift. But it's it was like the next step, and then I was like, all right, I'm in the small market. I was doing stuff, and I was getting stuck. What can I do? All right, stunts and on camera acting and doing all these things. But eventually, you do a lot of stuff, and you really gotta focus a little more, but then you're supposed to just be wide open at the same time and just let everything happen that's supposed to happen. Yeah, if you watch TikTok, it can be like confusing. You're like, what? Do you want me to do something? Do you not want me to do something? Do you want me to think about it, not think about it? It's whatever. It's going to happen either way. I realize that, and I have to work like mental health wise more on that. The weird thing is, I know so many people know and believe in me when I'm like, I feel like I suck at literally everything. I just keep going. I'm just doing the thing, but everybody just believes that I can do it. And even though I also have some people and situations that give me the fuel to be like, I will show you. I do need that. But it's still nice to know that people do see something in me that I'm not going to say I not see because that's why I'm doing it. But when I'm like, I'm doing this stuff, but I'm just not maybe as smooth or maybe can't endure as long, and it can be really frustrating. But I'm on the path, and thinking about it technically hasn't been nearly as long as a lot of people have been doing it. So I just got to be patient. I do see the difference. I just recently on my phone went back into a recording. I wanted to try this mic. Was it? No, actually, I think I was practicing something for a voiceover class I was taking. It's like, let me just see, because I didn't have another mic. And I was like, oh my God, I had something from my very first voice acting class, very first one that I took in 2021. And it sounded so bad. I was like, I don't know. It's so weird how something, it's like telling somebody, walk, and you're watching them and the walk is super unnatural. Like, no, just walk how you really normally walk. And you're like, I'm walking normally. That's like the best way to describe it, because I don't sound normal. And I thought I was sounding normal and just accentuating certain words. Like, this is the best thing ever. Instead of, this is the best thing ever. And even that can still sound not supernatural. This is the best thing ever. This is more like me. So there's different levels of that. And it just takes time. So that makes you realize you've already reached a whole nother level. And it does feel good. I do need to work on my vocal health. So that is a big thing since I started working at this 9 to 5 that I started already after my voice acting career started and my training. I speak every day, and sometimes it requires me to speak loudly for hours and hours. So I know I don't hydrate enough, and I had that steam thing. It wasn't great, so I put a new one on my Christmas list. Hello, mom, sister, everybody. And I need to really work on, this vocal fry and being able to maintain the voice. That is a big thing. So, what else? I wanted to take matters in my own hand with acting. There's just really not much I can do. Agents or commercial. And even though I have an official theatrical one, I have not received anything this year. So I don't know. I already reached out. I took matters in my own hands to create scenes for real with some friends to collab, and one of these ended up turning into a short film. Quite an investment, even for something that's only 5 minutes long. So that was, I could have trained and traveled a lot, thinking back for how much it cost me to make this. But I'm very proud because I got some selections already for film festivals, and it was just a really great experience to see things from the other lens. And that's where I meant the inspiration came from Catherine Bigelow, because she films differently. Everything is kind of like real life. The camera walks, it kind of moves. And I really wanted to capture the same different angles and really honing in and being able to tell the cinematographer, the camera guy, like, hey, this is what I want, and kind of this vibe, and to move, and just able to translate that. Same with the music. Oh man, the composer, he was, all right, what do you want? I made a whole spreadsheet, and he was like, just, I need to know beat changes and stuff. And I outlined it all. And I was like, boom, the first one, I was really like, that is insane. Minor fixes. I made like a little video going over here, this and that. And he's like, oh my God, this is actually a good idea. Patting my own back to do it that way. But I always try to be practical and make sense and make sure I can't be misunderstood, because I know I can, and I don't know why it happens a lot of times. But and then we just had it. So what's next? So I'm recording this because, yes, follow up, and I don't know how regularly I am able to do it, because I feel if I make it like a weekly thing or a monthly recap, I might put more pressure on myself to get it done, and I might not have a good time, but I really want to try. But my first way into it is to make another series, and I've already recorded 3 of the, I think probably 5 at the end, episodes for this specific series, and it's called Stunt Talk. Okay, no, Stunt Talk. Where I invited different people onto the podcast to talk about their journey, their origin story, and also just regular stuff, just getting to know people in my community. And a podcast is a really great way to get people to be like, hey, let's talk for a little bit, and also share their wisdom and maybe some of the things other people were interested in about them, and keeping the podcast flowing. So if you do enjoy it, let me know. If you want more of these here, just also let me know. I'm trying to make this the best it can be for what you want to listen to, because I mean, if it's topics that you don't like, I understand that that might not be as interesting, but at the same time, it could just be interesting because you're not in it. So I don't know. I'm just kind of going with the flow, trying out things. And like I said, I'm going to the 3rd annual gala. Everything's booked except for the hotel. I was going to do that last night, but then there were some errors. I got to check that again. I told you I already know which one now. I just, with my points and stuff, I got to check what that error is and then finally book that. And I got my dress, and I'm super excited to see all of the people I see once a year when I go out there. And what else is next? Locked in, full ready to get back into VO. Like I said, vocal training to keep all this good. Um, Finding the right mentors that are doing the things that I want to do and work on it makes me feel once again almost like a failure. Like, oh man, can I keep this like for 2-3 hours? Am I interpreting something correctly? And yeah, I don't know. It's really hard. I have also, this was all industry stuff, been going through a bunch. So when I got out of the military before my son was born, I put in a VA claim, uh, disability things, and a lot of stuff happened. I was separated and I moved to Germany, and I totally didn't think about it. I was like, whatever happened to it? I never heard anything. Apparently, they did send a letter. I had never gotten it, but then they went to a online system to upload some stuff, but there were some issues. There was an error. So last year, when I went to the Navagala, I also hung out at the Sovas. I didn't actually go there to the event, or maybe I did a day. I'm not even sure, but I did meet someone there, and she was telling me, she was probably the third, fourth person, was like, no, you got to check in with them. Like, there's no way you don't hear. She's like, I just got mine, and I was like, all right. So I did, and turns out they had messed up. They were sitting on it and didn't close it out, didn't process it properly, and ended up going back 11 years. But it took a lot of fighting, because from that, they only acknowledged some of it, also because how I worded it when I first got out. I just got back from freaking Iraq, and I came home and went to the VA. Like, how do I know how to describe certain things that I'm feeling, and also, you're always told that, don't whine, don't cry, especially as an MP. Everything's fine. That doesn't really hurt. Mental health problems, that's not a thing. And when I went in for, my sleeping problems that I've just had for so long, that then also got worse after having my son, and he had night terrors, but I've had them since my deployment, sometime during it when it started, and I ended up seeing people there. So then they sent me for a psych eval. So this is very vulnerable here. And they're like, I was like, all right, I don't know why I got to go to a psych eval. I'm just here for like sleeping. And then they're like, well, it's depression and anxiety. And I was like, what? No, I'm like a happy person. Like, yeah, I got moods or whatever. And is that it? But then they said it wasn't service connected, because I never said I was depressed or anxious. How do you know that? Especially when you get back, like I said, if you're just so used to trucking through, and they know that. They're the ones that sent me to the psych eval and do that. So then I had to go back and fight for that and a couple other things. And that finally wrapped sometime this year for my disability. And that really put a toll on me, because it's so stressful to go through that. Like, when you go to the VA and you hear a lot of other people say that the most stressful part is that causes the most anxiety and worry is that VA claim process. It's very strenuous and annoying and frustrating. And then they're like, you have sleep apnea, and I was like, oh, okay, I figured it might be that. And they're like, yeah, but it's not service connected, but you have unspecified insomnia. Well, I couldn't sleep, and now you're telling me I have sleep apnea, but these two are not connected. I don't know. I could go on a rant, but at this point, I'm tired. I'm exhausted going through the process, but I'm very happy to finally be acknowledged as that, and to get the care. Really, VA healthcare is really great. I know a lot of people complain there's, maybe a waiting game, but it is absolutely great. But learning about this depression, anxiety, I was like, wow, that's such a long time ago. And thinking back, I was like, oh my God, so many things make sense. But at the same time, I could tell something else was happening with my body. And I'm in my late 30s, and it's been probably a couple years and here and there. And I was like, something isn't right with my hormones, and I could tell my dopamine levels. Like, I need that rush. So that's part of that military thing. You have a purpose. You're a soldier. You deployed. You're proud. And yeah, I served 4 years, and it doesn't seem like a lot. But besides this career, that's actually the longest career that I've ever had in one specific field. But I will tell you in a moment why that might be a thing. But I'm going through all these things, and you get that dopamine hit and the rush, and you get to train and do cool things. And then you get out, and then you're just like a person. And like, I don't care what other people think, but I like just feeling strong and cool, and somehow found that as a stunt performer. And one of the stunt talks, I actually talk to someone about this, and it's so cool. I'm like, that's why sometimes you want to do the cool stuff like fire burns, like who would light themselves on fire? Apparently, a lot of people like doing that because they're in the stunt world. But it's just like, look, the cool thing I'm doing. And even though I'm saying look, it's not really that I want other people to think that. I just know what I think is a cool thing. And the best example for that is, a lot of people might think cosplay is really like nerdy, geeky, and they're like, that's weird. To me, that's cool. So if I cosplay as something, I feel really cool, but somebody else might think that's totally silly or nerdy, especially at my age, to maybe do that. So that's where I mean, something can still be really cool and maybe not for someone else, but I feel that way. So I was going through these ups and downs, and then I acknowledged I might be going through perimenopause. It's just my moods, and sometimes that depression, when it came, I'm tracking on an app. So this again is very personal, but through this IUD I got a long time ago, I didn't have any periods. So then I have to track my cycle on an app, and especially when you train physically, you can tell like your skin and your energy level when you go to the gym, and how whiny you get or not. And how motivated, and then you're too motivated, and then you pop your hamstring, and yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm going through perimenopause while also dealing with the fact that I'm getting flashbacks of all the things that make sense from depression and anxiety, kind of dealing with that. And it's not something that should be permanent, but it's chronic in that sense, because you just, the patterns and what you need to feel. But what I do as a day job, I'm a psychometrist, so I do psychological and neuropsychological testing. And part of that is ADHD. And I have been testing a lot more adults over the past year, like a shit ton of adults. 40s, 50s, 60s, 74-year olds. I was like, what? That's a childhood thing. It's something you're born with. And again, because of social media and the internet and all of the stimulus that we're all getting, yeah, some stuff mimics it. So that's why we test it. So it could be anxiety, it could be something completely different. And I was always like, that is just ridiculous. But then I was like, oh my God, this dopamine, this baseline, I'm just not hitting. I'm very in tune with my body. Like, I knew when I was vitamin deficient, and I was like, I'm going to get this blood test. And sure enough, and it's like, I think magnesium, potassium was low. I can feel it in my muscles. I'm super in tune. So when I narrowed down all the different hormones, I could tell, yeah, the depression, anxiety with periods, and the probable perimenopause when it gets really bad, like so bad. I'm standing in the kitchen, I'm cooking, I'm feeling good, and it feels like a wave just coming up of a dark cloud. And not like you want to do something to yourself or end your life, but nothing feels like it makes sense or is worth anything for no reason. I can't even talk myself out. I'm like, I'm literally listening to music, I'm cooking, I'm doing all this cool stuff, and I just came from a trip. I got another trip coming up, and it's just there. However, when that's not there, the hormonal one, the regular depression purpose one, that dopamine baseline, it just keeps getting exhausted. If you keep pushing it, it just doesn't refill, and the serotonin levels. And then I was like, oh my God, I think I have ADHD, and I've always had it. I can't stay in one place for a long time. I'm always moving. I am all over the place. I can't let people finish sentences. I'm super impulsive. I have a lot of things under control, but that's because I'm so aware. So I have to empty my suitcase as soon as I get home, because if not, it's going to still be there for months. I have to put my dishes directly into the dishwasher after using it, or they'll pile up, and then I'm just going to freak out and it becomes a whole thing, and then it piles up and there's no fork left, and then it becomes a thing. I can't have more than one tab open somewhere because if it's like two, three, it's like overwhelming. My email box is color coded, labeled, and when I get notifications on my phone, you might realize I tend to, when I can, I'm not at work and it's not in like a group chat or something, I respond timely because I also don't like the notifications to be on my phone. It's just that anxiety piece that comes up and just, it's there. Uh, so there were a lot of signs. So all of the things I'm already doing, I've had therapists before and my VA psychologist, and everyone's like, you have all the right coping mechanisms and you're super aware and nobody ever knows what to do. So I was like, all right, I'm pretty sure I fill out a Barkley adult ADHD scale. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know that was a thing. You always think of hyperactive, but I also have problems with auditory processing, and that's a really big one. And it goes way back to elementary school, which is probably the biggest explanation why I used to never do well in school. And yes, I have multiple degrees. And I must say, American schools are way easier than German schools, which I'm excited about. I'm all here for it. But just you, it just happened this week again. I'm like looking at someone, they're saying something to me, and I'm actually focusing, and it just blue. What's blue? Can you say that again? And I feel like it becomes worse. So what happens as you get older, the things you deal with, and you have coping mechanisms, especially if you do a lot of stuff, high stress environments, it just eventually just doesn't work as great anymore. And I guess it just crashed. So I went to see the VA psychiatrist, and he's like, usually I would send people for testing, but that would be silly, wouldn't it? Because that's what I do for a living. So we go through all the signs, and I was like, well, I'm probably like the hyperactive impulsive type, like stuff in my brain all the time, doesn't shut off. And then he goes, no, you're mixed. You do have inattentive in there as well. And I was so shocked. I was like, huh. And I was that quiet kid, girls go undiagnosed all the time, and it's a executive function disorder. But I'm also really competitive when it comes to things, not necessarily people. Like, I can play a game for fun, I don't care if I win or lose, but like myself especially, they're like, let's do this task, I'm like, I'm gonna do this task, and I want to do it and I want to win it. Where other people, maybe they're like, and they struggle, but I like overcome that. But that is that part that gets so exhausting. As you get older, it just becomes harder. So I'm like on this journey of learning all these things about me, and I was like, wow, I always thought I was a terrible person. I like can't pay attention for 5 years straight, and my personal goal was active listening. And I am learning a lot about myself this time as I'm going through these things of being a mom of a teen, being in a relationship longer than I have ever been. And it's a healthy, great relationship with a partner that gives me the freedoms that I need and is there for me and is really thoughtful and does so much. And my family that's there for me, my friends that I always check in with every week, every other week over Zoom because none of them live here. And I am really going through this of, all right, what does peri-menopause even mean for my body? I'm not accepting it. I'm super active. I'm doing tons of things, and um, stunts and acting and voiceover. And like I said before, I constantly feel like I'm failing. So depending on what cycle I'm in for my hormones, if I have a trip planned or not, the dopamine hit, right? I know I'm going to LA, so that's my next dopamine hit. So if I don't plan for the next thing when I get back from LA, you know what happens when I get back from LA? I'm going to crash. I'm going to get depressed. I'm going to feel like nothing is worth anything, which is why goals are really, really important to me, and they have to be actionable. They absolutely have to. Even though this year I set goals that some of them seemed really, I was like, I want to get more IMDb credits and specific ones, and how can I get that, and where do I go? And a funny thing with Nava, ended up adding the dubbing. I did get a couple additional ones. Making a short film, ended up getting that, and then through the stunt job. So it did come between manifesting and doing that. So the action behind manifesting, but also letting it flow in a way you might not accept it. So there are many things. So you might think I have everything together and I'm doing all this stuff, but in reality, I have good days and I have bad ones. I've actually been anxious to record this podcast for the last 2 days. It's like, am I going to get the lighting right? What's my hair going to be like? But so I was like, I just want to relax. I want to be in my PJs and talk to you honestly. And yeah, if you made it till here, wow, because I talk a lot and I ramble and I do like to talk a lot. But it's a lot that's going on. So sometimes I do get overwhelmed when I do get messages, which, like I said, that's why I try to actually respond to them when it's in the group chat and there's things going on. I have multiple between my friends and family and the stunt chat and all of the stuff. Sometimes just peek in and then I'm like, try to come back later if it's something I want to answer. But I don't like the word anxious and anxiety actually. To be honest, that doesn't exist in the German language. The actual like word, if you're diagnosed with it, is like Angstzustand or something like that. It's like it's a severe fear of something like extreme. So you don't really have that. So you might have like a feeling and it's weird and worry, especially it comes from things that haven't happened yet that you worry about, um, or just the overwhelm from past experience. You feel like that's going to happen. And it used to not be a thing, but in America it gets thrown around so much, and then you think about it and you try to identify, right, labels: depression, anxiety, ADHD. And I have noticed that with the ADHD, because the more I notice, oh my god, that's from that, and then I was like, no, but I'm not a label, and I don't want to say, oh, it's my ADHD. Yeah, sometimes for fun I'll be there like, oh, I haven't taken my Adderall this morning. Which that's new for me. Like my mom and I were like, I do have that from my mom. I think she's really excuse me, aware of like her body and things, and always tries to heal stuff. And I am 100% certain I got it for the ADHD from my mom, because my mom 100%, now that I know it, has ADHD. A lot of those things that I see in myself that are my mom are those symptoms specifically. And I have lost my train of thought, but it's definitely a journey. I mean, it's definitely a lot. I do have fun doing the things I'm doing. Not every day though. I am tired. I'm exhausted. Last night I wanted to go to stunt training. I had my stuff packed. At lunch, I got my dinner sandwich at Wawa and I was ready. But then I just crashed so hard, and I knew emotionally I was gonna cry probably at hour two, just out of pure exhaustion and wanting to do well but not doing well. Plus, like I said, I bruised my toe that morning at jujitsu. So I was like, I'm gonna freaking hit my toe against something, because we're barefoot usually on the mat. And I was like, it's not a marathon. I'm not missing out if I take some time. I already cut back. I took one day of jujitsu out for now and trying to incorporate more, maybe vocal care on that day. Working on, I have so many sides, voiceover sides from all kinds of classes and workshops. I love that that's on like Google Drives, and I have them saved to just go in and play with it, look through notes from old classes, and really do what I can. I am juggling a lot, but I love that. So even though for some people that ADHD part, it seems like a disability, but it's a real superpower. My psychiatrist said, when he first came in, he's like, everybody says they have ADHD. That's how I feel when I test people. So most of them don't. And the way you actually know it is if you do take an Adderall and the effects that it actually has on you. And I could tell I don't have to take like a high dose, but that does calm the mind. And when my mind does calm, my body relaxes more. And the focus goes into the specific things and not trying to do 1,000 things. So the multitasking still works, but it's more efficient. So when he did diagnose me, he was like, you're going to crush it. All of the things you're going to do, you're really going to crush it. Because you know why? I heard this somewhere else too. It's like when you don't want to, your child can't see well, everything's kind of blurry, not HD, but you don't want to give them glasses. So now they're just going to adjust to the world. They're going to do the best that they can, and they can be great. They can be really great. But what happens if one day that child, as an adult, gets glasses and now they can see everything clearly? I get goosebumps just thinking about that. But that's what happens. And now you're ready with this. Again, not a handicap, because you can do so many things. Like, people think the hyperactivity part is the creative part, is what psychologists that I really care about and I work with said. And so people are worried when they take ADHD medication that it takes that creativity away. And I can tell you it does not. I am, like I said, able to be less anxious and more focused on certain things. Some people might just not be the right dose, because you hear people saying, my kid was a zombie. all of a sudden when they took it. Well, I don't know why they would get such a high dose right away, but you work with your psychiatrist on. I noticed, for example, I'm a morning person. I have way more energy. I can do a bunch of stuff, but then I crash in the afternoon. My procrastination gets so bad. It picks back up after like 11 p.m., midnight if I were to stay up because I get tired early. I go to bed early, but if I stay up, that's when I used to study for my master's and do my writing and my best creative part. Like if I stay up after a certain point, all my creative ideas come in and then I can't go to sleep. Then I keep on getting my phone and writing stuff down. I have a new film, like an entire script. And it still works. But oh my, see, vocal health. Been talking for about almost an hour and it's almost out. So I definitely have to work on that. So I'm never taking anything besides supplements. That's what I was trying to get at. My mom and I were just like natural, trying to help with things. And this is the first time I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. I don't want to overdo it. And I have a great psychiatrist that's also like, hey, on the weekends, when you're not doing something where you're required at, just take these mini breaks. Then you also don't have to worry about tolerance and all of those kinds of things. But for example, I noticed like my skin picking in order for me to read a book and actually stay focused, like first of all, the book has to be interesting as to lock in immediately or that's it. But I pick my skin, and so that's the extra stimulus distractor. So a lot of times I pick my skin because I need that extra stimulus to stay focused on something else. Um, and so it's like, what if I want to read a book? He was like, I did say if you do something you need to focus on, then like take it. But I will then maybe just take the one in the morning to do some of the tasks, to get through to focus more. But what I was saying at work, because I procrastinate more and get more tired and everything is just blah, I would actually up the dose a tiny bit for the afternoon. But I'm able to adjust it myself. So on days where I feel good, I might not take anything in the afternoon, or I might take a little less. And I'm so glad that he works with me with that. And then days I don't take it. So I have learned a lot about myself. You have now learned a lot about myself. I am definitely a very imperfect person that's just trying to do the things that I love to do. I don't see the end in sight, and I know it's a journey, as a marathon, and there are things along the way that are great. I do, I do just really want a big win, and I feel so close. Like the connections I've made and the callbacks I'm getting, the emails from certain people, the connections, it's there. So I know it's not the right time for my type. Maybe some of my skills just need to get a little better. So that's some motivation for me. But I know it's going to happen. I just need to trust. And the financial aspect, I think, causes the biggest problem. So yeah, I have a master's degree. I have a cool job. It doesn't pay enough for this economy, especially the way it is now and everybody moving to Florida and everything's just got so expensive, including, our rent. It's astronomical. Could be living in freaking New York for all I know, for what we're paying here. But we'll get through it. It always works out. It really always does. And that's when I love to look back and be like, man, I remember. So I want to be able to live more in the moment. And I've actually bought a book about that. And interestingly, I have a good friend from my kung fu class. He's a snowbird, so when he's in Michigan, he'll like send me books and without talking about what the topic is. And he happened to also send me one that kind of built on that one, to live in the now. I don't dwell on the past. I love a good nostalgia moment. And I'm like, oh, that was beautiful, and thinking about stuff. And yeah, sometimes a little heartache because we're millennials and Disney music and films and R&B, and sometimes you just want to but I do live in the future a lot, where I want to get what I want to do, and nothing's ever enough. Every time I accomplish something, I'm like, cool, I got it, move on. No celebration of it whatsoever, because I'm like, cool, I worked on this, I got it, what's the next thing? So really working on enjoying this, sitting here right now with this microphone, the lights shining on me, and filming it. So yeah, yeah, that's what I'm doing. So, but up next is a stunt talk. So I've already recorded 3 episodes out of the hopefully 5. I'm still waiting on a couple more people to get back with some dates and if we're going to be able to make it. But I'm doing this because I want to do Start It Out, because one of them has a workshop coming up and I really want to announce that. So they're really cool. But we talk about all kinds of stuff: stunts, locations, special skills. So New York, LA, hopefully Texas. That's one of the ones I'm waiting for. Atlanta. the one I'm still waiting for. There's a couple in New York, two different ones. So stay tuned. I'll do my best to keep you posted because I actually love these too. These are like diary journal entries to go back, like, oh my God, that's where I was in 2025. That is crazy. So, yeah, it's like video logs of everything. So, if you made it till here, wow. Wow, I talk a lot. Your brain must be full. So, until next time, at German Chocolate Life of a Mixed Girl, I'm out.